Perfect.
Good morning, just like an NBA game. Start right after the pledge. Okay,
Pistol shot.
has everybody had a chance to review the agenda?
Yep.
Do we have any conflicts of interest? Or any objections to the agenda? If not, I will stand as read or written. Madam Auditor, would you read our minutes of the last week's meeting?
You bet. September 19, 2023, the Board of Supervisors met at 9 a.m. with Ty Rosberg, Chairman, presiding. Members present were Schultz, Dozark, Rosberg, Mulbauer, and Hayden. Minutes of the previous meeting were read and approved. The board approved clerk of court fees for August 2023. A motion was made by Mulbauer, seconded by Hayden, to approve the annual report of county engineer for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Dozark, to approve the agreement for Iowa DOT initiated detour of primary highways onto local roads. Highway 59 detour south of Denison. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Dozark, seconded by Hayden, to approve the proposal request 3R for the courthouse first floor restroom renovation. Brittany Ruba of FEH Design presented to the board. Option 2 was chosen in the amount of $9,521. Motion passed unanimously. Motion was made by Dozark, seconded by Hayden, to approve tax abatement for parcels 0319109003. Iglesia Evangelical Jesus S.L. Camino. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Mulbauer, seconded by Schultz, to approve the complete preventative maintenance for hydraulic elevators contract with Schumacher Elevator Company for the courthouse and annex elevators. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Hayden, seconded by Schultz, to approve tax abatement for 2612 Idlewood Drive, Denison, John P. Lally the fourth, and Tina Miller. New house on existing foundation. Motion passed unanimously. Motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Hayden, to approve to waive the interest on the 7/70 DSC credits due to software calculation errors if paid by March 31st, 2024. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Mulbauer, seconded by Hayden, to approve the burn ban for Crawford County effective September 21, 2023 until rescinded. Motion passed unanimously. On motion duly seconded, the board adjourned at 10:46 a.m. Agendas for the next meeting are posted and available at the courthouse on Friday, 4:30 p.m. preceding the next meeting.
Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I mean, the only thing you said Idlewood Drive
Oh,
is Idlewood Circle. I know.
That's right, I remember you saying that.
Was that?
we can change that.
Could
We
you
could talk about.
Go ahead and we'll pen it in there, but
Okay.
I'll get her to change it on the type, so it gets published circle.
Just try
What's
to
that?
cross
Is
that
it
drive
really
with the CR.
Yeah,
It
that's
is.
fine.
It is. It does go
This is okay.
very small.
Okay.
No light today.
Interesting. Do we have any additions or corrections?
Do you need a happy,
Other than-
do you need a happy worm since you're
Yes.
so close?
Do we have any
I
objections?
don't think
to
it's
the
far
facts?
with me. It's there.
Hearing none, I'll stand as read and corrected.
Thank you.
Anyway, next up is the supervisors' reports and any special committee reports. Kyle, let's start on your side of the table today.
Okay, I did go, yes, center meeting was Friday, nothing really, same old there, and been
Full
working
house? Full house?
Yeah. Been working with the CRP deal, and, the end of the month is coming fast. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna make it, the end's there, but, we got some hurdles to overcome yet. The fair board can't sign the paper because they're extension of the county. And the state of Iowa's out there,
Really?
so,
Really?
yeah,
Ken Pheasants forever?
we're working through some of that stuff, The Friends of the Fair, maybe, possibly, that was an old group that used to be around, but they're not around anymore.
Oh,
I'm trying to really lean on Brian Broderson just as he can sign the papers at farm,
Yeah,
and then buy us time to get things switched around.
sure.
Do it, but and rightfully so, he's kind of afraid of tax implications of any on his behalf by taking all that money in and said it should be an in and an out.
Right, it should.
Yeah,
So it should be a zero, but he's like, what if the wrong people hear that I'm getting paid and this and that, I say, that's gonna happen everywhere. But I get his point,
it's legit.
we just wanna do it,
Is there someone else on the fair board that?
we probably could,
What
yeah,
about
I'm
like
just saying.
Jan or somebody? He's,
maybe Jam Henningsen or something, but
My only thing, I run, that's where maybe you can run through them. And then they give just in and out for them to go back to the fair board.
yeah.
But I guess that's adding another entity.
Brian's doing some research today about, is there a fundraising committee for the new show arena? 501c3,
I don't know.
Oh,
that might be something.
Avenue.
I think there was a committee that was put together for that. He was gonna talk to Leonard Mingo about that today.
Cause I know Wesco, they did their duck fundraiser and that money went to the show ring, is who they picked for to give the money to. But I don't know if they just then gave it to the fair board and the fair board
You're not,
designates it to the show ring, or if there's a specific show ring entity, I don't know.
yeah, Brian was gonna check on that.
Would Sarah Carlson be able to help you with some of that stuff? Because she's now got
Fair board
the
member.
book.
Yeah, I'm sure anybody on the fair board would be willing to help, but it's just,
I think Sarah would be an easy one to get a hold of and she's pretty good at doing.
I could see though that Brian's point to being concerned about it looking like he's getting, even though it's an in and out.
Looks like he's getting paid.
It would, and it would be the same for Sarah or any of the board members if they did it individually.
potentially there would be, if everything worked out right, he would sign the papers, and before that first check would even hit, they could have it pre-organized and named differently. And at that time, I suggest we take Jerry Bruce out of the, I don't know how much to say in the public meeting, but maybe work towards getting them on the rest of the CRP ground.
Yeah,
see, I wondered that old contract is gonna remain the same for a little while, right, until it renews?
Right.
Okay,
So at some point in time, we'll have to work through that. 'Cause
right.
I think we catch more flack if we continue to do it.
So you're saying we just need a name put on there by the October 1st deadline, and after we would get applied and approved, we could change that to.
That's why I've got to put that question into Erica today, but I believe through my conversations with Tracy and Erica, that is a possibility. As apparently the fair board gets local funding through us, and they get state funding, so that just knocks them out.
Oh.
Much as similar was before we did this thing with the Jerry Bruce, we never got funded.
Right,
So that, and then Jerry's gotta sign a paper stating he has no interest in it, cause he technically still has possession till the 1st of March,
right.
and he's kinda digging his heels in.
We're getting it seated.
I mean, he just, the land contract, he's got possession the 1st of March, and we're trying to supersede that without his permission, according to the state as well, so. We either get him to sign off and say that he has no interest in it.
Right, I mean, leases always go March to March, but you have to notify them by September 1st that next year, after March 1st, you no longer have possession.
But
of it.
yeah, you're running into a deadline on
Makes
October
sense.
1st to get
You
signed.
gotta buy all your-
So it's chicken and an egg.
and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and he's kinda digging his heels in.
And then to not get signed up for a CRP program, who's to say by next March 1st?
There may not be a CRP program.
Right.
And not for $300, right?
Yeah. And the $11,000 sign on both. So, any suggestions? Been nice to deal with.
Is there any
I
way,
think that's what he's wanting.
Okay,
He's wanting a little money.
yeah,
Jerry,
yeah.
isn't that the way of the world?
Craig and I had kind of talked. And we're gonna run this by you. let him bale the corn stalks off, but technically they're his. He
Yeah.
can chop the whole thing for silage, and we wouldn't have done a dang thing about it.
Yeah,
He can bale all the stalks off there and do with them what he wants.
Well, that'd be a way to not have to physically pay him, but allow him to use something that's already his.
Well, I mean, if he's worried that he's put too much fertilizer on, he can take every last bit of fertilizer off in round bales then.
Especially going back to CRP, it wouldn't worry me as much. Is there any way with Erica Scheckenscher that I mean, I'm sure you explained to her, like, hey, we have this deadline, but yet we don't get to take possession till March first. Is there any way to sign up, like, hold it till?
Well, it can't be guaranteed because the new fiscal year just, which starts next week for them is, there's no guarantee, no. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
The board.
I mean, Kyle kinda estimated that could be,
Oh,
what, how much?
maybe 15,000. If there's 5 bales an acre and he sells it for $25 a bale.
35. I mean,
You know,
Hey, you know.
that's still up to him. Technically, he can
do what he
do
wants.
whatever he wants till 1st of March.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's up to him to potentially reap that money back.
But it's in our contract currently for him not to bail.
I think so, yeah. I think we
Keep
put that
it
in
for-
there, yeah.
holding the soil and
Mhm.
You think he'd be interested in that?
I
I think he might.
could explore it.
That is a good point, though, and it has not been brought up before when we were renting a farm out. You could chop, which takes everything off. Granted, you have to replant a cover crop,
Yep,
but still, you could chop, take everything off, but you can't bale it.
right.
And this can be the case.
Mhm.
You know, so I think that's probably the most logical way to try to approach it.
I'm in favor of that.
Well, I wouldn't be able to, I mean, I think to run it by him.
And he may say yes, and he may say no, you don't know.
It's an option.
Martha's looking and he said he's got some rights and Martha said, and I agree, we've done everything as a landlord correctly.
Mhm.
So, but his right is possession of that till 1st of March.
Sure.
And without his blessing, we can't get it signed up.
Could you get it signed up with his name still on that?
I don't think so.
Well, I think we could, and he might be in favor of that, but
And then
I've
we
got
have-
reservations that if he's doing this at this
Right,
point,
how do we get his name off there?
Exactly.
Moving forward, right,
that's,
Right.
right.
if he would have been, you know, rolling out the red carpet for us, I would have been, yeah, let's just, cause that'd have been simple.
Yeah.
Seamless, so he just
Right,
put this right on top of his contract.
Yeah.
because you could even change the percentage that he retains or whatever,
Yeah,
just to, and then the county just more to the fair board from there, from that, but.
well, that could be another way to, say, I don't know, I'd be a little more in depth, but the guy could entice into that too. I think I'll try the bail.
Say give it a try.
Yeah.
You're talking October,
I know, I know,
Right, next week.
week away.
A week away.
he knows it. I'm sure he knows it.
And I suppose if nothing happens and we miss that date, put it back up for rent for a year.
And I think that's what he knows.
Right.
He's kind of holding some cards that we don't have no answers for it, so.
We draw up the contract a little different next time.
Well,
Hey, that doesn't mean you can't rent to an FFA group.
yeah, we still have the right to rent it to whoever, but,
Yeah,
you know, how we go about doing that is up to us.
yeah,
We don't have to auction it off the highest bidder.
no,
But I'll run that past him. Martha's doing some research. I'm gonna hold Eric again. But
starting on the profits to there. There you go.
what's that?
What if you rented it out to an FFA group you know, kind of a deal to create a fund
Mhm.
for the fairground. I mean, I bet they'd get some parental involvement in that. You never know. I mean, just, that's an idea.
Well, if this fails, but we'll know more next week,
Yep.
and we'll be all across that.
And I don't know if we wanna,
I'm just throwing a bug out there.
Yeah,
we're using
You guys are
that,
you guys know what you're doing.
incentive money, you know,
I've been, yeah,
that, to me, we have to go in stages.
right.
It's not something where you offer all up front, we offer, you know, we do have that, I suppose, available, so.
And I was kind of almost. I don't know how much I want to say in the public meeting, because that's all.
That was my limit.
Yep,
Yep.
yep,
Yep.
yep. But I did talk to Ty earlier this week, or maybe it was Sunday, but.
Yeah.
We need to really think about our budget process.
Yep.
And, come up with ideas. You know, the one idea that I threw past him was, you know, when we get everybody in that needs a new vehicle, we take that stuff all out of their budget and put it out for bids. Instead of one going to Team Ford, one going over to Carl Chevrolet or whatever, we just put out 6, 8 vehicles for bid.
Everybody lets us know what they need for a vehicle and we put them all under one roof.
Agree.
See if that don't get us a better deal.
Stuff like that.
Because everybody's basically getting the same vehicle because it's a government vehicle.
Yeah.
So I mean, whether it's the sheriff or anybody, secondary roads, it's always the same vehicle. And you know,
This is just a thought, thinking outside the box out loud. Wonder why counties, you know, we have a 6 county region with Region 12, and Region 12 has pretty substantial transportation unit that buys lots of buses and vehicles and things like that, where
There you go.
the 6 counties could
Ding,
all
ding,
go
ding.
together and say, hey, Region
We
12,
have 30 vehicles.
here's the list of vehicles we want to purchase with your vehicles.
that's a great idea.
I love that.
Would Region 12 charge a fee to do that?
I don't know, it's just my thought right now, just,
Just, you could always
cause math,
basically throw the dart at the wall and see if it, any answer that you really want.
cause they have their list of vehicles they buy every year.
Buying in bulk is always better.
I mean,
Couldn't hurt to ask.
No.
I can't imagine anybody needing a new vehicle in front of the county this year.
Rick, and see what he thinks. You can talk to the other counties. Other counties may not think it's a great idea, but I can't imagine why getting things at a better price wouldn't be a great idea.
Madam
I'll ask him.
Auditor, do you know, like, out of the total budget, the percentages of what yours, of that 22 million, your 300,000 or whatever, do you know that percentage or can you?
We can figure that out, yep.
Per department?
That's, yeah, that was what I've been trying to collect.
Cause if we gotta cut 500,000, I don't know how we're gonna do it, but
Yeah, figure out.
your budget is a lot, well, any of these second floors are a lot tighter.
Then the sheriffs or public health or secondary roads, they got a
I'm
little
just
bit
trying
more
to
room
gather
maneuver.
information of numbers, you know,
Now,
I
the
thought,
annual reports, we kind of see how we need to make changes in the way we do that.
so I know it's only in October yet, I think this early, so we talk budgets, but
Right.
I don't
We're
think
gonna
we
need
can talk,
to.
start too soon this year.
I concur. That's what Cal and I were talking about. I think we probably better get on the stick, you know? That way it basically alleviates the pain of the courthouse, but it alleviates the pain of each department. If they know, okay, this is what we gotta do. You know, I mean, obviously we hate to cut any staff. I don't know that that would be necessary. So we gotta find out where we gotta
Well, it's
cut.
gonna be up to the department head
Yeah.
based on what they
Yeah.
get as revenue or as a budget. And that's
I mean,
gonna be
that's their-
affected by what we get as revenue.
I'm sure they would like to keep all their people.
Right, well, and
Kinda like-
probably need to tell them what's an allowable growth,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
no, you're not wrong, and that's,
I mean, we've never really approached it that fashion before, but I think you're there.
Yeah.
We're,
That's
you
kinda what
know,
we're talking about.
reality.
Never before have we been told what we're not going to get and what's coming down the road so bluntly as we have this.
Oh, absolutely,
You know,
no, I agree with
when
you.
they say, you know.
We don't know what
2025, we're gonna
this
hit
file
a brick
718
wall.
House file is gonna do to our stuff, so.
But I think that's a fair way of going about it is what is your percentage of the overall budget this year? And
Right.
If we're gonna have 500,000, we gotta
2%
cut.
growth.
It may have to be incrementally based on what their proportion of the budget is. And then we can fine tune some of those extras that are put into budgets that maybe are a little more than their percentage or.
You know, and I'm not, like the postage, I mean, everybody, I don't know. Just things that we gotta start thinking out of the box, you know, pulling all that.
Well, I
I'm
remember,
wrong, but if you look at the expense that we just signed today in your department, Sarah's department, I mean, that's, right, she had her phone bill, that's all she had today.
Right.
For the recorder's office.
But-
Then you get the Paul's and it's $500,000 what it's spending, whatever, you know.
Yeah, that's where we kind of need to develop a little more. You know, you gotta look at it a little bit more fine tooth, you know, you gotta,
Yeah, do we need to spend $150 on dog food or can we get mine for 75?
well, what are we, yeah?
What do you
that's-
think, since you just retired?
the one thing that,
Well, down to $1, that should cut the
But then that goes back to on that,
But that's just the, you know, one thing, one line item.
we, you know, we don't have a choice over what he does spend on it once the budget's approved.
that's what
That's
we've
true,
learned.
but we can,
But we can adjust it down
You're
so that
figuring
it's
it
not
up,
there.
those are
Right.
the things that, you know.
That's what we've learned, is that once it's in that budget, whether it's $150 for dog food, they really don't even have a dog. They can take that money and put it anywhere they want during the year, as long as we approve the overall budget. That's kind of difficult. But the other thing that we don't want to do is tie departments' hands that they can't run their
Department.
business, you know? so-
Right.
Or the other train of thought that we talked about in the past, say hypothetically, cut everybody's budget back by 25%. And 3/4 throughout the year, they come back and say, I need a budget amendment. Well, now we can look back and say, okay, well, what did you spend your money on? Why are you short now? Knowingly that that's where they're at. But yeah, I know what you're saying, like Sarah, just a phone bill, but
How do
Did
we,
you-
I just
we still got.
pulled hers out.
25%, that's gonna cut into salaries too.
Hypothetical.
No, I know, I'm
I'm
just
just
saying.
Just threw it out there.
and if you gave a 15-20% wage increase, well, you're there because of this. Or if you went out and bought something that was expensive or, you know, things that you didn't, we would have tracked it along the way and said, well, now you're doing budget. But if you truly lived within that and said, here's where I am, here's my baseline, I need to split for my salary. Okay, we can approve that budget amendment.
I think that, I kind of lost my train of thought. I was listening to you there, but, oh, I know what I was gonna say. The part that bothers me in a budget year is it, if you've got, let's just say Terry's got an extra $20,000 and you decide, okay, I need that for some new election machines. And you want to slide it over there and do that. That's not an effect, that's not a budget expenditure that's gonna affect us in perpetuity.
Right,
But a pay increase,
right.
you know, that wasn't approved by this board, it's gonna affect our budgets from here on out, as long as that person's working there anyway. So them are the ones that I would like to see a little bit more responsibility out of. I mean, because it isn't just this year. It's fine if it's just this year. Okay, that money was in the budget. The taxpayers have, through us, have already authorized that money to be spent. You know, yeah, we'd sure love if you'd save it, but if you don't, that's because you think that it's a vital thing. But when you do that, you're already committing us to more money next year and the next year and the next year, because every year that percentage makes it more. And you know, if you added $10,000, and I'm just using a number, to somebody's budget or somebody's salary, I mean, that puts another 3% on that, if, you know, on top of that 10% or that 10,000 shows up.
Plus your
again.
matches, plus your IFRS, plus your.
Yeah, thank you, Gene, plus all that stuff that
Plus
went
all
up
that.
too.
You make them responsible.
Well, that's the voter's
That's what-
job, mind you,
But
but
that's where I'm getting back
Even as
to.
a department head, if they so choose.
What we
to do
budget
that.
them doesn't cover it. They have to make the hard choice.
Yeah.
Do I give that deputy status increase that raises the percentage above and beyond what I first gave them as a pay increase? Can I do that without having to come back and ask for an amendment? Well, if you have to come back and ask for an amendment, you might not get it.
or not, at
Remember
least
the
not
year they
all.
tried to do that? I can't
We did the
No, that was-
appropriations deal.
appropriations.
We only
Yeah,
appropriated.
December hit and we
It was a mess.
unappropriated, we appropriated. it.
But there was no accountability for why they needed it, because I sat over on that side of the railing and they just came in and said, I need that money, I guess I have to come today, and it was just, okay.
But if it's not budgeted, and now you have to do the amendment, well, why do you need that amendment?
But somehow
But
that
it
was,
it was budgeted, it was only
That's what-
de-appropriated.
yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying, the difference of what I'm
Right.
talking about today is.
Right.
Sure that we-
An amendment comes out of fund balances. Yeah.
Right.
And not levied to the taxpayers.
I think it's time.
That eats into
to get
our
educated on how we
cash
do it.
Uh-huh.
reserves.
But that did not work.
It did not.
That would even, that would even,
Was it-
and
was it-
no
we tried it.
offense to
We tried
future
it.
boards,
Rain
but
them
that
in.
would even
I
make future
got it.
boards more responsible. You know, like in a year that there's an election, you know, they'd even have to be responsible with their cash reserves and, I mean, it wouldn't be just like, okay, well, the money was there already, so.
But the last thing I wanna do is spend our fund balance down to nothing and be like some of these counties that have to. I mean, basically have no reserve in their back pocket.
Yeah.
Right, I think that's what the
I think I
state
said
wants.
that backwards though.
What was that? June, we got that email saying how we're the naughty guys, cause we have a
Fund balance.
fund balance.
Obviously not spending enough.
Kinda hypocritical when the state's sitting on 2 billion.
Well, that's what I thought when I read that, it's like, you guys said like 2 billion. But that's okay, but, you know, we're sitting on 6 months of wages in case taxes don't get paid. So we can keep operating, we're the bad guys.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, I think we start thinking about it now and,
yeah, and I do, and that's kind of what we were visiting
kind
about.
of get the word out there that that's the way it's gonna be and go forward.
This is
Yeah.
gonna be the toughest. It's a shaping up to appear to be the toughest budget season that I've faced.
Kinda felt like
That'll make
this
it
is
mine
just-
for sure then.
This is just the start of the tough budget years. They're gonna go through 5 phases of property tax changes.
Yeah,
The last phase is gonna be when the state comes in and says, you can lock the door on your way out, we don't need you anymore. We're taking
that's what it looks like, doesn't it?
we're taking all control over.
Well, it's, public health isn't even having a meeting or mental health tomorrow because of the lack of people being able to come in the short agenda. They're not even having the meeting.
It's begun, hasn't it?
It's begun. I could read your-
Same way when Eric was on that workforce development, you know, when they made it so big, they just quit having meetings and they couldn't get quorum, the agendas were light, so they just quit having meetings, and next thing you know, the state, we'll just take over, you guys ain't getting that done.
They're gonna legislate till it's broken.
That's exactly what it looks like, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. And
A few of the board members have conflicts for Wednesday's government board meeting and low number of action items, but decided to delay September's till October. Not enough people can
Department of
come.
Corrections had a scheduled meeting for September 8th, and
Or you didn't have
that's
that?
that.
Tomorrow, it's supposed to be tomorrow.
I know.
I public health, this is mental health.
Oh,
when you're,
Mental
you know, when you're an
Mental health, yeah.
advisor,
Gotcha.
all you are is an advisor, it
Excuse
really
me,
takes the luster of going. I mean,
It- I-
why should
I listen on.
drive an
I
hour
could be a,
to go
Well, now
sit
we
in a
can,
2 agenda item meeting?
they've actually
For
changed it to
nothing.
Storm Lake. It's not in Holstein anymore, it's in Storm Lake.
Oh,
And so it's just slowly,
but some other just general citizen could sit there and be an advisor. I mean, you don't, you're right, there is no teeth in it anymore.
Yeah, well, there's no
There's
purpose,
no accountability.
very little purpose.
didn't really listen when I voted, so it's okay.
Well,
I apologize for taking up that.
No,
time.
thank you. It was nice, it was good.
Yeah, it was
Good
all
discussion,
informational.
so it was
It's
worth
great.
it.
So,
You still got anything else?
No, we move on.
Okay, Mr. Dozark, please. Floor.
Dave and I attended the IT meeting last week, so if Dave wants to jump in, I certainly can. And the meeting was focusing on the new phone system for the courthouse. And I guess Terry was there.
Yep.
Too. So, and it looks like the direction that we're going is towards a cloud-based system. And
bless you.
either having, each individual could either have a phone or use their computer as a phone. And, Jake is gonna have a meeting with all the department heads to kind of get their input on what they think, cause we decided, hey, it's not we don't want to implement, say this is the way you're gonna go if the department heads say, well, we don't wanna have nothing to do with this. So that's the direction that we're headed currently. Dave, anything you wanted to add to that or?
You know, I thought it was a good presentation. What's the guy's name? That he came in, told us all about Tony, all about his phone systems. It seems like there is huge benefit, especially for certain offices. We said Terry's could be a prime example of how you can access your phones through your computer, how you could use your computer remotely. It's all through the cloud. You can conference call, do multiple different things through that. I know Public Health said that they've had very good.
Yeah, it's.
Sure, that's the same system that they're using.
Same one
Yes.
they got, yeah, that's what I was told.
It's kind of now, like I said, Jake's got to talk to the department heads, figure out how many phones exactly we need, how many of the, what did they call it? The phones with the computer was a stepped up version of it. That's a different deal than just a regular phone at your desk.
Yeah, I was thinking about that last night when I read the,
What's cheaper? You want to just talk about money?
you wouldn't have to bill it
No,
out
that
by
was
each
my
department.
question. I had my hand up.
They wouldn't have to bill it out by each department anymore then, right?
Uh-uh.
You would just all under
No,
IT.
they're all through
I
IT.
also did
Oh, it could.
Gene, go ahead.
So if the phones are coming through the computer and, you know, we have so much trouble the way it is with people trying to call in, you can't get through, is that gonna be better? That the phone system won't be down, or if there's no internet, can we not have, we can't call anybody and we don't have access to our information? Seems kind of sketchy to me.
It'll be much better as far as connectivity is involved.
Okay,
Cause there'll be no line that you can cut. We'll just have a server and the server goes to the cloud. And so, you know, you can't have someone physically outside digging something and cut a line in half and now we don't have a phone system.
that has happened.
That will not happen.
But then we'll always have a computer system also. Remember when they used to cut fiber optics and the bank would be down for days at a time? That won't
It's a risk with anything you take, but
Yeah,
just correct me if I'm wrong, you two, the phones itself though is part of the package deal up front. I mean, we're gonna
Right.
pay for it through the service fees, but
Right.
they're giving you the phone
You get a phone for free.
Right.
In theory.
in theory.
Well, in reality,
In
In
reality.
you're getting the phone for free.
Oh, that's nice.
I like reality.
And that's just through,
Free reality.
what, the end of the year or something? I think he said
Yeah.
that they had that, sales.
Pitch.
They want you,
Plan or
they want you
whatever.
to sign.
So the phone would just be a normal looking phone. It's not gonna be like.
Similar to what we have,
Similar.
similar. And then there's the mother of phones that has the extra bank of, being able to transfer. You can enter more lines in there, so when a call comes,
Could
but-
roll over.
So who
Yeah.
will have the mother of all phones?
I don't know if we'll need the mother of all
Draw,
phones.
draw.
Because they're different step ups.
If you
Because
have a
Megan
commu-
functions now with the phone she has, and if someone like her that, you know, manages so many calls, had it also on her computer, her desktop computer, I think that would help more than having.
Kind of like the quarterback of the office. Who are you directing what call, who's doing what,
Right,
you know, you can see that in Sherry's
because-
office as well. One person could have that ability to, oh, I'm sending you here.
that
sending you there.
3045. So like when a department like Sherry's office calls someone and leaves a message, the number that shows up on their phone, that, like if she called you, you would see 3045.
That's why Colin
See,
calls me.
And they call back at 3045 thinking we know who called them, kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
That's
So,
exactly what you mean.
Not
So, yeah.
everybody needs
no,
that system, but if you had one in your offices that could direct it and then everybody else has your base line.
right. And even just the base phone, you can direct traffic with
You
that.
get multiple lines, so I mean, you know.
Oh, yeah,
'cause-
that's
and you-
easy.
And yeah, that, you know, cause they'll have obviously, you know.
Right.
maybe-
And we'll have 4-digit dialing to public health again,
Oh,
if we go with that same system.
But we gotta get fine tuned who
Right.
actually needs a phone, like we don't need a
Right.
phone in here.
No, we wouldn't add one in here,
I
you
mean,
know.
do you know how many lines are currently in the courthouse?
that'd probably scare me.
Currently, there's 55.
I think that's right.
Is the number that came up.
55.
So 55. And so what we're doing is monitoring, I think we're gonna find out exactly how many lines are used. And what their usage rate is, so that, because moving forward, when we purchase, if we purchase from this company, they charge you a license fee per line. So we wanna make sure that we're not buying 55 licenses if we're not using 55 lines.
Right.
Do you know about how much a license? fee
It depends
is?
on the type of license you get. They kind of recommended what that enhanced line for some is $20 a month. A basic license is $11 to $12 a month. A business license is $25 to $26 a month. I think they mentioned that for us, it'd be a few enhanced, most basic. But we wanted to know, right, per line, but we want to know how many lines do we need? And so,
What are we
Probably not
paying
that
now
high.
per line? Is it per line now?
no, I don't think it is per line. I think it's just we're paying about $700 a month as our current phone bill.
Did he give it an estimate of what this would be?
Well, you can see that if you've got 55 lines at $20 a month, that'd be over $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
If they all were on the enhanced lines.
Right.
And some will be enhanced, some will be basic.
Right.
I'd say most need to be basic.
Wouldn't you just
Right.
need a big one for each office
Enhanced one.
and enhancement for each?
For your
of
main
them?
answer.
Well, that's what we talked.
And some may not even need an enhanced.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, you know,
Well, there's only 3 people in the recorder's office. They probably
Right.
would.
they
Right.
not even
But
one.
that's where Jake's gotta do some more research
Right.
and sit down
Right.
with the department heads and figure out.
What they need.
Sounds good.
And like the enhanced one, now, if you had, like, say they had 3 lines over there, so each one could be on the phone at the same time. Would that have to have an enhanced phone in there then, or could that basic phone handle
the
it?
basic phones
Oh,
can
yeah,
handle it,
that-
just like we have now.
So that would make it cheaper, or at least no more expensive and more reliable.
Certainly more reliable.
Certainly more.
Certainly more
And that would be worth something right there, cause I can't tell you how many times in the last
Right.
month I called and would get the busy
Right.
signal.
I mean, that's the
service.
biggest thing I guess I got from the presentation was be much more reliable than our current system is.
I'm all about communication.
Sounds
Which
good.
we ran into with a few weeks over Labor Day weekend, I think it was, where phones were down. And then people were trying to call in because they were jury duty and couldn't get in and, well, how am I gonna get in trouble for not getting? connected?
Our reliability on Frontier would not,
Would we need one in
see
each
smooth
judge
forward.
office too then? I never even thought about that till you just.
Well, yeah, that number includes the courts.
right.
Oh, okay, that
It
fits.
includes
They're one of the
that.
larger ones.
It's our whole
users.
building.
I didn't know if
But they
they use their
reimburse
cell
us.
phones or.
See, and this phone system would allow you to put your work phone number on your cell phone, so
Oh, transfer.
if you needed to
So if you
receive
were out,
your business calls,
you know, like on election day,
Yeah.
when they're not
Uh-huh.
here,
right?
they could still.
Transfer the phone to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, good, we can keep tabs on it.
We should get I-360 on.
We should. Absolutely.
360.
They got it on me.
When it says just one more, you'll know exactly where to
Just one moment, we're at our lunch place. We're at the supervisor's official lunch stop.
That's all I got, Ty.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm gonna just run off on my stuff quick.
What?
No, really, I had Central Iowa Juvenile Detention too. And, the last couple meetings, and this one before and this one, the one before, they just asked about the mental counseling, mental health counseling that was happening over there for the kids. And I kind of wondered, and I was on a Zoom on that one, so I didn't really catch all the whispering, you know what I'm saying? The table talk, I shouldn't say whispering, but table talk. So I didn't really see what was going on there, because I wondered why they asked that. Well, then this time I figured it out when they came back, because they said, I don't think that we're actually allowed to pay for that, because we no longer have a Fund 10, correct? So if we're paying for mental health, I mean, it's really something that the state should be panning up for. So they're gonna go to the regions and see if the regions will compensate that, because if there's any kids in the state of Iowa that need counseling for mental health, then Gal can attest to it.
Come from the region.
Yeah. So they think that the region, they actually had from the Dubuque area, the lady that runs that region, and I can't remember what they called that one. She was actually on the Zoom with us, and she's very interested in doing this, because she thinks that this is a very worthwhile project for all of our detention centers to have adequate mental health counseling for these kids.
I agree.
And I said, I don't even think that'd be a hard sell to our board, but I said, I would think that Gene would have a pulse of like the Rolling Hills. And I think they would probably think it's a good idea.
That dog called on.
So, I mean, if we would show our support through Gene to Rolling Hills that way, because they're not asking for just Central Iowa. They're saying that it should be something that's across the board.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
And the state basically took that out of our hands, so the state should be able to sponsor that through each district. Okay, that was the big thing I wanted to run by this, and I thought that would interest you. That's why I wanted to get that out. But, otherwise, we were also talking about like let's see. The net worth of the place, they were kind of bagging on Tony about that. I shouldn't say bagging, but they were harassing him about the net worth and how it shot up. But that was because of the new facility, and they've already paid a fair chunk of it off. I shouldn't say a fair chunk, a nice chunk out of that. So that did increase that over there. Oh, here. The report, and this is, I wanted to bring this probably because of the mental health issue. I mean, we've got 3 kids there on first-degree murder charges that are adult waived in Central Iowa, and I don't know if you've got any over in Cherokee or not.
Not currently.
Not currently, but the point is the red ones are all adult waived. I mean, that number's growing because we don't have they aren't out in the local jails anymore. And, just like the jails have the people, you know, after they've been sentenced and they've got to stay in the county jail until they get moved. And then actually, even after they get dismissed from prison, they still come back here for, I don't remember how many days. And our sheriff's department has to pay for it. And, it's the same thing that's happening with juveniles. If they're detained, they know they're on our dime. Well, because they're detained, they no longer get Medicaid. And, you know, some of these kids were on Medicaid or some kind of an assistance program, but that gets cut off. So then it's on the counties to pay it again.
Mhm.
So it's another place that the states or the
What's
federal
that
government,
thought process of taking away Medicaid when you're detained? What,
you no longer should have the privileges of that. But
who's
but
going
still
to
getting
pay
paid.
for it?
It's still gonna get paid. So it's the county that
Whose
pays.
idea was it to cut that off?
Somebody that was trying to make themselves look good, trimming a budget. That's the only thing I can figure.
Well,
I mean, because now it's still gonna get paid, but so they have to bill us. And because the state's basically contribution to juvenile detention keeps getting less and less. This is one of the places that's gonna be almost impossible for us to ever go back and clean up our budget because we've got to be able to finance our kids that go there. I mean, and luckily we have nobody over here right now. And actually the whole board, the whole commission was actually kind of getting on Tony about individual things where, you know, if we had to pay any mental health, you may be getting a rebate check. I don't think we've had anybody over there in that time frame though, since that actually got implemented. So I don't know that we'll get anything back, but some of the counties like Webster County, it'll be significant.
So when you mentioned the red wave status, that means that they're actually adults?
No, they're kids, charged as adults.
Kids are charged, so
Like,
they're still in the juvenile system. Is
I
that
mean,
right? Or
you
do they
say they're
get
18.
out of the juvenile system?
Well, they'll go to
if
court,
they're adults?
they're gonna be charged as an adult, so they'll go to the adult court. But they can't stay in an adult jail because of the things they can hear or see. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're still,
Some of them could be 10, 11, 12 years old.
that could
well,
happen.
it don't have how old they are. That's the only thing I said. It'd be kind of nice to see the age, just to try to track where our problems are and where they're beginning. But there are kids, like Kyle said, that are like 12 years old.
That are actually being charged as adults.
Oh, yeah, well, you're a first degree murder. I mean, and I don't know if any of these are that
Murder
young.
one, I think it automatically puts you in adult wave.
Yeah. I mean, we got first degree robbery, we've got sexual abuse, second degree, you know, that are adult waves, you know, I mean, I don't know how old any of these kids are. And just for my own, you know, mental process of where do we need to start correcting this problem?
I think so.
You know, I mean, that's, sorry, we're interrupting on your time here, but we're not quite there yet. felony possession of firearms, possession of a dangerous weapon. I mean, these kids are, they're as dangerous as any adult, you know, in some regards. So I mean, that's the things that our system's getting filled up with. I mean, none of these people that are in here are,
That's just in our region.
yeah, this is just in Central Iowa Juvenile Detention Center. I mean, Kyle's probably got a list, something like that, if she'd make it up there. I'm sure he'd have something similar to this, you know. But, you know, even look at the kids that are still juvenile that aren't adult charged, 1st-degree arson, 2nd-degree sexual abuse. I mean, you know, operating a vehicle with no consent, okay, that's basically grand theft auto. I'm not gonna say that probably. But, you know, there's a lot of serious stuff in these kids. I mean, so what's created this? That's why I think the mental health thing is gonna be very important. Anyway, I just wanted to run that by you guys. I want to get back on track
Oh,
here.
with Dawn.
Sorry we didn't
I
get to
find
you.
out.
You got some stuff that we can get back to after Paul's done?
I do.
Okay.
You guys will know.
You got some stuff too. I see you have a list there. We'll get back to you two at the end.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I don't have a whole lot. so-
Mr. Osmond, well, we might be able to finish then with your stuff.
I'll be quick.
With your-
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
There you go. There was a few over there.
Kyle usually doesn't have a long presentation, but I don't have a lot discussion today.
So, projects are gonna pour the concrete pier encasement, tomorrow or?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow at 2:00. So,
We need to have fire trucks there.
so, I'm gonna go over there here after this. Check into that. but,
Why would-
We'll put
It's
Rick
a haunted
in touch.
bridge, you know, I didn't wanna be done, but we'll get it. So they're working on it. They're working hard on it. So, the Manila shop, no new word on that. They started here hopefully in a few weeks. Great crew. They're down on Mill Ridge, finishing that up. Turned out really nice. Farmers are all really happy with that. Getting a lot of good feedback on that. So,
Is that that section of the road in there?
yeah, there's a dam right in the middle of it. And, so it's turned out real nice. They took the power poles out, you know, so I mean, it's just,
Awesome.
it's awesome. Yeah. And, so they're really happy with that.
That wasn't a section where they graded it like 30 years ago and buried all the trees in the road.
Yes, it is. And because I designed the dam, I was working for the NRCS at that time, and I designed that dam, we were building that, and we went up over the hill and everything just got pushed in. All the trees just got pushed in and covered.
Trees.
No, they didn't even get burnt. They just got covered so they
just
could
got pushed
decompose
in the
under the
middle of
road.
And, you know,
They don't decompose.
They don't, and that's
They
the
don't,
problem.
they stay just
So-
like the day they were buried.
Oh, is that
Yeah,
right?
so they start to kind of come up after 30 years. So that, you know, that kind of speaks to that issue of, you know, in my career, we've seen it pushed in and go bad again. So the millings that we're putting on and the approach we're taking nowadays with the, you know, the rock checks in the ditch and the millings is probably a better long-term solution to those roads. Trying to take a little better care of them so that we don't.
What's the location you said?
You go south of Dow City on School Street, okay, to, what is that?
Do you have it? No?
It's called Mill Ridge.
Oh,
But you go south about 2.5 miles.
Okay.
And you go back to the east. It's right there. So nice looking project. They're about done with it. And, so then they're gonna go from there to
Might be a
300
good day to get.
So I didn't know that either, but it doesn't matter the type of tree,
Good day to get my dirt.
no trees.
They
usually.
just don't decompose because there's no oxygen.
Black
Okay.
oxygen.
It's just, they're just down
Okay.
there and, you know, they're in moisture and they need oxygen, moisture and temperature to decompose. And those trees, I mean, there's a number of spots where we've kind of found those kind of creeping back up, you know, erodes back down to them. And so, anyhow, that's what we're doing with that road down there. And I think it's, you
So
know,
don't bury a tree, then it's gonna disappear.
they.
I would,
know,
I
once
would
I've
thought
seen
they
it,
would just stay.
When farmers
Okay,
have
no.
done that, they burn
Don't got
them all the
oxygen.
time.
Oh,
They
that makes
cover them
sense.
up by-
Right, and that's what we do. We don't bury, I mean, we'll bury some stumps out in a hole that's away from an area that would erode. We'll dig a hole and then we stack everything up. Everything's burned that will burn, and then there's just a few stumps left and you cover that up. Move on.
So that was done like 20, 30 years ago.
Well, at least 30, yeah, at least 30, maybe even longer.
Okay.
Yeah, cause I was embarrassed, yes, until 1994, so that's kind of,
Remember
Before that.
way before that, so probably that 35.
It's funny, trees will work their way up, but
Well,
stone works
they
its way
erodes
down.
down to them, it erodes down to them, you know, eventually the road, you know, they're probably working up a little bit too. Frost will push rocks up,
Sure.
you know, you'll see that they'll just.
Every spring you gotta pick up rocks in the field, yeah.
Yeah.
Rocky
Yeah,
Line.
they got one with Costco.
You had no idea till now that those trees were.
Oh, no, I knew they were there because I was out there building the dam.
Oh, okay, okay,
Drove
okay.
up, of course,
All right, all right.
the other, we're taking all the trees out, we're grubbing everything out, cleaning it all up, burying it, burning and burying stuff. I go up over the hills like, oh my God.
Oh, okay.
That's not a good idea.
Fast, effective.
It was, I'll never forget, Kenny Ransom was running the dozer at that time, he was sitting on there, we just push back, cover them up, okay. So, but,
Drive out, take a look.
yeah, it's a nice project.
Yeah.
So, well, if you're down there, I don't know if you've had a chance to drive that seal coat that we did.
Yep, I,
Yeah, there's one little area, I was down there yesterday that kind of tore a little bit where they were coming out, so we're gonna.
Tell me where their place is.
Well, they were coming out of the field, up out of that field with the silage, and it kind of tore just a spot. about
So
this
you
big.
kind of wonder if we should work a little bit different on the field entrances like that?
Yeah, I mean, that was excessive probably, but this is a test because this road's gonna get a lot.
Yeah, that's what I
a lot
mean.
of use.
You'll see where the
You know,
weaknesses are.
Yeah, yeah, you could run the seal coat, but it's just hard to do that, to run that seal coat down. We made the road extra wide, it's
But
extra
even if we
wide,
put
so-
more of that new base underneath
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it goes all the way from shoulder to shoulder, and this whole thing.
Was it more of an issue that
Coming
they're
and
coming
pulling
up
and
out of the
turning,
south, so they're pulling up a small hill and turning?
and turning, and it just grabbed,
Turn right away.
that corner.
Got it.
And it's not terrible, it's just, if you nurture that along though, we're gonna take some coal patch down there and take a motor grader and just kind of patch it up, pack it in a little bit.
Got it.
It's not fatal, but it's just something you gotta watch.
Mhm.
The seal coats need a little TLC as they, you gotta kind of just manage those a little
Yeah,
different.
you said that, no.
Yeah, so, but overall, that project looks awesome.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's gonna get a lot of traffic on it, so anyhow, but if you're down in the Dow City area and you wanna, and then you just go down there between Dow City and Dunlop, and there's a beautiful drive, you can just kind of wander through the hills down there. It's really pretty this time of the
Mill
year.
Ridge is a nice
It-
trip.
it is. And then you go down to W Avenue, we were grading that here a couple of years ago, and I went down there and I looked into that pasture up to the south, and I looked back, and it's like, man, you can see all the way just about to Denison from the top of that hill up there, it's just beautiful. So Crawford County's a pretty county,
It
It's
is,
beautiful.
it is.
a lot of neat areas, so.
Especially when the leaves are, trees
It
are changing.
is, we got some really nice color right now, so beautiful day. So the great crew, they're down there, they'll finish up there, gonna go to 300th Street, and then they'll finish up, we got 3 miles down there by Manila, that T Avenue, a lot of that's Scheckinger land in that area, some Houston. So we'll just finish the season up there. Bridge crew, they got some patching, they're up on E16 right now, they're gonna do one down on S Avenue, and then they're gonna go on that bridge over R Avenue, that's over there where the old Maher place used to be. That's up north of there, that bridge kind of, also we're gonna straighten that out. That'll probably be the last bridge project, for the year, and then we'll have some bridge rehab work that we're gonna be working on to kind of finish the season out. And, get everything ready for next year, so. We're gonna do one of those temporary bridges that I bought. We're gonna put that in, probably try to get that right out of the chute over there by West Side. There's a nice area that, just serves one person. So I think it's a good place to put that in. I wanna see that thing go in. See how.
That just one section of it, or?
No, it'll be three span. So
Okay.
we'll use, there's 3 pieces for each section. We got 27 pieces, so we'll use 9 of the pieces up. Okay. But, try to get that put in. So, roadside seeding, mowing, I've got a lot of hydro seeding done, a lot of seeding done before that rain, that's perfect, now we got this weather here, so we should get some really nice growth on some of these areas. Talk a little bit about that, Mr. Martins, who sent the email there last week, and I forwarded copies of what my response was to all of you, and, I was down there, it looks awesome. I don't know what we could have done differently, but,
Did you respond to your response?
no, never back. I didn't figure I probably would.
I think your email covered it well.
Yeah, and it was, the guys are doing a good job. We got Tony over there now, he's running that excavator. He hadn't been in there very long at all. He did that, and it looks awesome. And the bridge, if you get a chance, it's all seated now. That's a great project, so we got rid of a problem bridge, put in a new bridge, cleaned a little ditch out, did it very professional, very nice. I'm proud of it. So I'm not gonna take,
We could tell.
I'm not gonna take any criticism.
It was good.
So just saying. Anyhow, the safety luncheon tomorrow, just got a real short brief. Safety.
10:30.
10:30, we're gonna have a couple of videos, a snow removal video, a chainsaw safety video. It's just hard to get speakers. And, and so I prefer to have speakers. We're gonna have, somebody from the fire department come and talk, about confined spaces and, fire extinguisher use. Kind of break up the videos a little bit, but then it's an older but good snow removal video and a good chainsaw safety video. One of our employees, family members was injured pretty severely in a chainsaw, tree, went
Oh,
the
yeah.
wrong way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Exactly.
And, so that stuff happens, when you're dealing with trees. So it's kind of timely. We'll be getting out there cutting trees and stuff. And so, anyhow, we'll have that, and we're gonna have, little pork loin for lunch and just kind of, it's been a busy year. There's no good time to have these. I said to the guys, we're just gonna get together for a day. To have, for a few hours and have a little appreciation. So, and I've got some, length of service certificates that I give out. I was usually gonna wait till December to do that, but I think one of the guys is maybe perhaps not gonna be here then, maybe gonna be retiring. So I wanna get it before he leaves, so. Otherwise, everything is really, really going good. We got our dozer back. Yeah, I mean.
What did they figure out with the dozer?
Okay, very simple.
Oh, of course.
I knew it was simple.
You knew it was simple.
Okay, I mentioned that.
Oh, yeah.
So anyhow, no, they tore that, yeah, CAT engineers, they come, like I said, we took it up there and I said, don't bring it back till it's fixed. So they had people from Caterpillar come, they tore that whole cab apart. And what they found was that it's a pressurized cab, okay, so the venting for the air conditioning system has to be a sealed system. And it wasn't sealed properly, okay, it hadn't been sealed properly, very simple. So as soon as that resulted in a negative pressure inside the cab, which is a vacuum.
Sure.
Which was causing just enough suction to not allow the water to drain down the tubes.
Oh, my.
That's all it was. Okay, so they seal it all back up, put it up, it's gonna be up to 80 degrees this week, we'll find out. They said they ran it, and it never did it again.
That's good to hear.
And that's probably why it was a one-off. That happens in manufacturing though sometimes, you're putting stuff together, somebody forgot to do this or this little thing. We had a Mack truck, we took it in, they redid some work on an engine or they did some stuff on it. They forgot to tighten the clamp on an air intake hose. Just a little bit loose, sucked dirt in, blew the engine, just because somebody forgot to turn that screw just a few more turns. And they took care of it, stood by it, but those are the things that sometimes happen.
Friday built.
Pardon?
Built on Friday.
Could be, you don't know, but that's why it was kind of a one-off, because they didn't have a problem with anybody else. It wasn't inherent to the system.
Right.
It was a one-off, just didn't get sealed properly. Now, they're 99.9% sure. We'll find out eventually, but 2.5 years of water coming out.
You don't want it to happen, but yet they took
Yeah.
care of it, so.
Yeah. It's unfortunate we had to deal with it, but we got it fixed, I think now, and so, all that's going good. And been a good fall so far, so.
Oh, yeah, it'll be nice to have our fuel saver back for the last project to be there.
Yeah, it was gone for about 3.5 weeks, it wasn't terrible, but that's the only way, it just wasn't getting figured out.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you just.
Send it up there where they got all the rent. Get to
Bring it
work.
back. And they took all their guys, they bought a bunch of people from Peoria over, and they were into it. That's what they found. So,
Thank you,
Thanks.
sir. We appreciate the update. Keep up the good work.
yeah, thank you.
I do fuel safe.
I do fuel saver. Okay, I actually had another meeting yesterday with,
Public hearing.
Yeah, Kevin.
it's a 10? Oh my, it is. Sorry. Let's look here. Let's get to that.
If you can accomplish yours.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, if you accomplish it 30 seconds, I can go for it.
Yeah, I got 30 seconds. But I can't finish anything in 30 seconds,
Actually,
except for maybe an ice cream.
How many licks does it take to get to the bottom of a
Yeah.
lollipop, right?
That's right.
Three, literally.
That's
what I
been,
got.
that was the scientific approach to that all nailed. Okay. Don't have,
I don't know.
is the budget paperwork, you got that budget paperwork?
Yeah, that's right.
Here, you got it. Thank you, man.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to open the public hearing.
Second?
Okay, there's been a motion made by Mr. Smolbauer and seconded by Ms. Hayden to open the public hearing on our budget amendments for 23-24. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor state so by saying aye.
I,
Opposed, no. Chair votes aye. We are in session. How long do I gotta leave that open? Madam Auditor?
Leave what open?
Just ask if there's any public or.
No written or
private
oral
written.
objections.
No written or oral objections. I don't even see anybody showing up to talk to us.
Right, I
so-
did note that no one was in attendance at the boardroom.
Okay,
And no written either.
yeah, she said no written or
Right.
oral. Yeah, I didn't heard it. Nobody's called me. Anybody else get a call? No thanks.
no.
Okay.
We close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion was made. Which one do you want? He did. Motion was made by Mr. Dozark, second by Mr. Schultz to close the public hearing. All in favor state so by saying aye.
Alright,
I,
Opposed, no. Chair votes aye. Carry. Okay.
well, I would make a motion to approve the resolution 2023-32 appropriating two departments in regards to the budget amendment. Fiscal year.
You want me to read off the numbers or do you got them?
I've got them.
Okay.
I've got a
Oh,
copy of
Got
it.
a copy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so you've got that down, appropriation provided. Motion was made by Mr. Schultz, who did the second?
Right.
Craig did, second by Mr. Dozark. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, state so by, it's a resolution, thank you. Kyle,
I,
Mr. Dozark,
aye.
Mr. Mulbauer,
Aye.
Ms. Hayden,
Aye.
chair votes aye. All right, you want me to sign this one or the one you got?
I'll pass this one around. That's okay.
Yep, no, it's fine.
And I can stamp it.
I'll let you have it.
And there's gonna be the record of the hearing. There's a place to sign on the bottom of that also.
Okay.
You know what? I'm just gonna hand it to you.
Probably,
And
I'm
this
the only
one
one
can go
that's got a
around the
scribble on
table.
that one.
Okay.
Okay. Hand it back.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Public hearing. My God, we are gonna get done. Like,
hey.
yeah,
No.
I didn't say when. I just said we are gonna get done. Gee, we haven't got to Gene yet. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
And I'm not even done yet, so that's the scarier too, right?
What?
Holy
Well,
Trinity, I think they call that, right?
we've got a lot. We like to share our information. Right,
Right.
Gene.
You got that last
We're good
transfer
sharing.
of funds too.
Okay,
What was that?
I was-
Here it is.
the rural development,
We got another action.
Do we?
Yes.
Resolution.
oh, the self-insurance fund.
Wellness fund.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, we need to talk
Okay.
about that too.
we need to discuss this.
You.
Madam Auditor, are you able to fill us in on that,
On what, the transfer?
the transferring of the funds?
So was it about $7,000?
$7,000.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the transfer is, we do a transfer to wellness fund. The wellness fund takes care of, when we do flu shots for our county employees and their spouses. Also, when they have that clinic at the hospital that our county employees sign up for their blood draw. For the, we have quite a few that take advantage of that based off of, last year's expenditures for those two items. 7,000 should probably catch it.
Does the county give the employees time off of work to go do those,
Well, flu shots are usually done right here in the courthouse, usually in the boardroom.
okay?
And they do, I don't know if they start before 8, but it's, merely just a few minutes, cause there's usually not a line of people, so it's not like you typically have to wait. So yes, we do in that matter.
Yep.
And as far as the other clinic, I think they start those at like
6 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, they start pretty early, and if our people get signed up appropriately, then I think most of them are handled before, they have to punch in.
It fills
you know,
up
for
fast
work.
too.
Oh,
It does,
it goes
and they
really
try to
fast.
hold a block just for us
Yep.
initially until,
You know, the last 2 years that they've actually created a block.
yeah,
for-
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's usually our block, so we can usually get quite a few people in
Yeah.
there.
When I'm out there, there's usually a lot of.
Yeah, and I believe they're about every 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, oh, they get 'em
scheduled,
through
So
there.
they're like
It's-
well-oiled
It's
machine.
just a blood draw. and then
It's yeah, jump on the scale, hear the bad news, go get your blood drawn.
Blood pressure, blood drawn and.
I can say I haven't
Exactly.
changed.
Good thing to offer.
Terry,
That's a great thing.
Yes, sir.
the
That's where you
county
catch a lot of
They do.
puts money in this account every month. The county contributes to this fund every month.
We contribute to the self-funding, the self-insurance fund is the one we contribute to. That spreadsheet that you have,
Yep.
that's telling you the balance of our self-insurance fund. That's where we pay our
So this
claims.
$7,000 is not.
It'll come out of that.
It'll
It'll
come
come
out
out of that and go into the wellness fund.
Oh, I see. We're taking it out of this fund.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Putting it into the ones.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now we
Okay,
can pay for
All
this.
right.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion for the resolution of 2023 transfer funds into the wellness fund.
I'll make that
Second.
motion.
Motion was made by Ms. Hayden, second by Mr. Mulbauer. Are you caught up?
Yep, go for it.
Jean,
Oh, yeah, roll call.
Oh, aye.
Mr. Mulbauer,
Aye.
Mr. Schultz,
Aye.
Mr. Dozar,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Now you want me to hurry up and get on my stuff so we can get done.
Yes.
We actually started a task force inside of in the ag committee, then we also got I'm one of the vice chairs on the rural development. And on that, we actually got another little task force we put together about EMS for the county. And I gotta listen to basically the whole country is having the same problem that we're having. Don't matter if it was in New York or California, trying to find ways to fund EMS because it's not what do we call that? Essential service.
Yeah.
And I mean, one supervisor or commissioner after another, we're all saying the same exact thing what they're having trouble with. And that's if they're funding the ambulance service in particular, but they're still we actually are doing pretty decent because the hospital, they said, hey, we'll pay for people to get EMT training, and different things like that if they'll come. So I mean, we've got some different things going on in our counties that actually some of these other counties didn't even have. I mean, they're struggling to just find money to send people to get to EMT school. And, one county was happier than heck that they finally got it to where they could put drivers in the ambulances that at least had CPR. They didn't have to be EMTIs or anything like that. So it's a national thing so that we're trying to work on something to actually present legislation to the federal government on behalf of the counties of America, where it would make EMS an essential service and provide funding, not only through local property tax dollars, but make it a something, I mean, they're trying to design a resolution, bring to Congress, but, we're working on that, which I thought was a great deal. Something we've talked about how many times now?
It'll take time.
And they actually discussed about ways of creating incentive programs and all that kind of stuff and things that we've talked about here. And one county out in New York actually did do what we talked about doing with trying to make a tax rebate and stuff like that. And, I don't remember how he said there was some issues that came up with that after we implemented it, but he said we cleaned them up. And, he really got kind of interrupted by another thing and didn't get to finish all of his comments, so. I was gonna wait for they give transcripts of these meetings where what everybody said, they must have a court reporter on file, on staff up there at NACO, so. I'm kind of waiting to see what that looks like and read that. But, I wanted to bring that stuff up because it just seemed relevant to things that we've talked about a lot. And so, once again, it's one of the things where, like Dave said, having somebody on that seems to be helping us.
Does.
Yeah,
I agree.
Now, so anyway, and if there's stuff that comes up like that, you know, like in the farm bill or something, I mean, I've called you guys already, you know, if there's anything that you guys could think of, you know, I mean, whenever there's something that comes up like that, I'm gonna actually try to get a hold of one of you guys to get your opinion, or even have you included in the meeting, and just to eavesdrop and throw stuff at me to work with them on.
Well, I'd say right now, the beginning farmer loans and what, trying to get new guys in, it's just not kept up with what farming is today. No.
Well, we get a farmer loan, but neither here nor there either, I mean, you know, you got a farm's 20,000, 30,000 acres, it's getting, you get a beginning farming loan
Yeah,
versus the kid that.
coming right out of school with nothing, or coming right out of the military.
I'd like to think
There's always gonna be,
it's meant for the one who doesn't have the resources,
There you go. I agree, Dave. Great point.
but
welcome to.
Right, but they fill out the paperwork.
Well, and you gotta,
That's right.
I mean, that happened, I mean, specifically, we had a farm neighbor that borrowed the money through the Farm Service Agency, lost the farm, Farm Service Agency took ownership of the farm, rented that farm out. My dad and his brother rented it for, I don't know, 3-4 years. And then they started the young farmer program, and the young farmer that got it, his dad probably farmed about 5,000 acres down by now.
well, I think that,
That's how it works.
you know, and I guess in the American process, there's always trying to be fair. We no guarantees in life about fairness, but you gotta try to be fair to every new person. But you're right. I mean, it does seem a little shaded when somebody that's got a dad that can basically get you started easy. You know, I mean, I don't know, I had a buddy I grew up with at school. His dad bought 40 acres because they all both, you know, he'd always dreamed of being a farmer, and he farmed 40 acres. And then his son wanted to farm. And if he wouldn't have married into a gal that had a little bit of ground, I don't know that they'd ever been able to get started. So like, that to me would be ideal, is that kind of person getting a shot at it. You know, they got the passion, they'll go out and work their butt off, you know.
But marry more money in 5 minutes than you can make in a lifetime.
That's what I tell
I'll
my,
be honest.
that's what I tell my kids, choose wisely.
Love is fickle, is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Well, let's not teach our kids that.
You guys
we
have-
I know.
But the,
Not true.
there was just a couple of things that I wanted to make sure I brought up, because I usually try to make sure you guys, Mr. Mulbar, please, you get the floor.
sure, like to kind of go back to mental health Rolling Hills. We had a meeting with MRHC and Glenn Bird. Stopped in and was kind of inquiring about our substance abuse facilities, and it was brought up how we continually to make requests for assistance through Rolling Hills, because substance abuse and mental health are hand in hand, as everybody knows. And we do require, or do offer some mental health support. It's just not the full-fledged license, whatever they gotta go through. It was brought up, and that's the question I want you to ask Dawn.
Okay.
That Rolling Hills had approved $45,000 for landscaping for one of their facilities.
Yep.
We're like, we can't get nothing, we're providing direct services, but yet, and then we brought up the fact that our supervisors are now advisory roles, we can't even vote against
Nope.
something like that, but yet it's the good old buddy system of, well, we need landscaping in one of our facilities. I'm not sure which one it was, but
I was on this meeting for that.
and so that is correct.
That is correct. It was overgrown bushes on the one up in Sioux City that we had purchased a while back, and needed to trim back the bushes and take out some fish.
Spent 25? 45.
So my point is, you know, I brought that up to Brenna, that
John Deere, we can fix that.
here we're losing our control as supervisors, our authority, our voting roles. We have facilities right in our backyard that are offering exactly what we need. Running a little support, but yet they'll spend 45,000 on something we can't even vote against.
Yeah.
So she was going to, it was out of her wheelhouse. It was nice she stopped by. And she did get our CEO in contact with Kelly Garcia, the head of HHS now, and hopefully we can get some things going that way.
It's just gonna take people saying how it's not working, and just keep after it, because the board has also invited me to come and talk to some people about the concerns that we have at the
Yeah.
time. Just from that local level of how we just are so.
I think it's insanity that they didn't keep us on board.
Well, and then they just picked, Carroll County to stay on as an alternate. I didn't even know they could have an alternate, you know, but they don't have an play record, that they picked him to stay on as an
It must be a
alternate.
yes, sir.
Well, that's where it just was said that, you know, Region 12 is a prime example of a region that 6 counties in rural Iowa that's working for everybody. Rolling Hills is a prime example of a region that is not working for every region.
Yep.
So, simple as that.
I'll never forget the email when I asked a question, and it was, you know, Jane Hyde for Crawford County's asked this, I think it's irrelevant the way you answer it. The answer was 0. We had nobody there, you know, but it was irrelevant that I even cared that Crawford County is not using the facility. But it was irrelevant that I even asked.
On a different note, I did get a call about
I saved
the
it.
shaping of our roads. There was some concern about how crowned our road is and cutting those edges off, and I explained, I said, yes, as farmers, they understood the idea of what we're trying to do. I didn't.
What did they like about it?
It was brought to too much of a peak and the road was narrowed up and getting semis across each other and then coming in through some driveways, since it was peaked up higher.
I see.
You might have
You get a tandem off. I'll tell you the trick, because I had trouble with that before. The trick, pop your button on the tractor and put it in low, and then ease your clutch out and all the tires will turn instead of just the ones that are off the ground.
So,
How long did it take a truck driver to learn that?
Well, necessity is the mother of invention. I don't remember how long it took me, but I figured this out.
in my point, what they understood is what we're trying to do, and I just explained that.
I just call Paul and have him take him down.
But I said, you know, that's gonna pack back down. You know, they might start a little higher than what you think is, but it works itself
You
flat,
can overcrown a road,
but
yeah. I
Maybe
agree.
you just-
Paul and I drove some roads, I think it was last week. Anyway, before, and just.
very, very nice about it.
It's
Just,
Yeah,
you know, trying to get harvest out, just a little bit of much of a crown, kind of fighting that with some semis.
The worst part is if you got a low boy or something coming out of a farm drive or out of a field, you can catch them on the road and then you get stuck.
The other thing I was gonna bring up, and I talked to Kyle over the weekend about this on Saturday. Shane Boyk had called me. He wanted to burn the tree pile on
he called
20th,
me,
Yeah.
I think it's all of us.
North 20th. And,
stood right across from your house.
kind of got thinking about that. And I talked to him and he was really good about it. He said, yeah, it rained an inch. I got the hole dug. I'm just calling because I don't want to make anybody upset, do anything wrong. I'm trying to go through the proper channels. I understand there's a burn ban, this and that. Long story short, I guess Corey said, no, Snowgren said, no, we're not gonna do it. And the story, he did not do it. But then I got thinking, it's in city limits. Our burn ban doesn't affect
I'd come up with that. I
city
said,
limits.
If that's in the city limits, we have no jurisdiction over that anyway, shape or.
But
form.
he did say, no, I'm not gonna do anything. If fire chief is not on board, he said, yes, it's frustrating. I got my whole crew. It rained at perfect timing to do it. It's even buried in a hole, but I'm not gonna go against, you know, anybody's wishes and cause a problem.
The city of Denison don't allow open burning except for like a week or two in the spring, a week or two in the fall. So
Yes.
So really, I think it was kind of out of our hands to start with, being within city limits.
So that's probably why Corey didn't okay it, because it wasn't within that time
I'm
that
guessing.
window.
It has to be a proclamation by the man.
Well, that's what I told him. I said, you're in the city limits. Corey works for BAM. I said, you know, we can't tell you anything because it's in the city limits. So we basically he said all three of us told him the same.
Yeah, I mean, the way,
Right back.
but the way the burn ban is worded is the only people that can give authority permission to burn would be the chief, the fire
the
chief.
authority having jurisdiction, so the fire chief or his designee.
So I mean, as a supervisor, if they called you and asked you, you can't grant them permission.
We can't.
Anyway, it has to go through.
Which we told him to call.
If they were out in the county, we could call Corey and ask why, you know, if it was out in the county. Because why did you not give him that? And if he gives us a solid explanation, I mean, and not that, well, I don't have anybody that wants to go up there. Or whatever. I mean, that's a little
Right.
bit lame of an excuse, but if it, like Kyle just pointed out, if it's not in that window, but the city authorizes it, then it's not in that window. I mean, he'd have to go to Pam too, so, and if they called him at the last minute on a Sunday, or even a Saturday, I mean, you know, so there's that.
It was just one of those perfect storms that he'd would like to done something. It rained. It was prime time to do it. but just-
Sometimes it's easier to ask for forgiveness sometimes.
If you start the whole thing on fire, then that's kind of a permission. Yeah,
I'll remember.
forgiveness may not be
Friday,
granted.
Saturday was been a perfect day.
Oh, it was, it
Oh,
wasn't no
yeah.
wind on Saturday. Nothing, there was a little
Right.
breeze on the
We
treetops.
just had a downpour.
But that's all I got.
Okay.
I have good news for everyone. That's why I've been
Well,
so
we're
anxious.
Are you,
Dairy Queen's
Mr.
open?
Mohawk, you done?
Yeah.
Okay, Miss Hayden, the floor is yours.
We had our bids for the concrete and the paint up at the public health. And in Paul's estimation, what it would cost, it was $30,615, just an estimate. And Frazier's won the bid at $27,398.75.
Good.
And so that includes, you know, finishing the stoop and the walls and everything, so they'll be able to start as soon as possible. Then we only had one bid for the paint, and that was $10,440. But that included renting, you know, a telehandler to lift them up and just gonna scrape and paint everything that's painted currently. We're just gonna do two colors, very similar to the colors that they had. We let the girls vote on the color they wanted it up there, just to kind of have some buy-in so that they get excited about moving up there. So those two,
Painted here and I said I wanted to pick colors and he told me,
No.
these are the colors.
No, yes. I'm not as nice as Jean.
I just want, you know, I just don't want to have that all on me that I picked the color, so they had a vote and the really was very similar to the colors that I wanted. So that was good. So
Yeah.
we also had a conversation about the training for.
So who
Tyler.
got the paint thing? Sorry.
Susie Aikman from Schleswig.
I didn't, thank you.
Yep, so that can get started anytime. The doors, so what we also voted on is that we're gonna keep the door RFP open for another week, because Frazier's were going to bid on it, but they hadn't heard back from their vendors. And then at 3:31 yesterday, I got a bid from a place in Carroll on doors. It was a little late, but they had called me and said they were gonna try to get it to me before my meeting, and they didn't. And since Frazier's wanted to bid, but they didn't have time, we decided to leave it open for both
Yeah.
parties, because we're not trying to be hard to get along with. If we have two people that want to bid on our doors. So we're gonna do that a week from yesterday, and then open them a week later, so that we can get those doors in, because I can't really do my concrete till I know exactly where the stoops for the ADA doors, where the ADA door is gonna be. And so we really kind of have to have that in order to know exactly where to put the stoop with the concrete,
So
so.
Frazier's no.
Frazier's
Extension.
They do
Awesome.
know, they do know.
Perfect.
Oh,
Well,
so
no,
you already
no,
told
take
them?
that back, no, they do not know, because I did not call them yesterday. I wanted to announce it here,
Oh,
and then I'll
gotcha.
call them and tell them we're leaving it open. I did not call them yesterday, but.
Gosh, if they win, could we not let them know that we're still waiting on our juvenile detention office?
No, I'm not gonna do that. Cause I've got projects I need done.
I'm just jerking your chain.
They are. So we also talked about the training for Tyler. You know, we had last month or 2 months ago had approved Lynn to bring Tyler in, because he needed some one-on-one training. He said he just isn't getting what he needs. And he also doesn't believe that it's going to take care of all of the timekeeping that they need. They have such and I really have a hard time understanding, you know, they don't have any more departments as far as sick time, vacation time, family leave, why it's so much more complicated. I know they have to assign things to their grants and their different HICMs and who's working for what, but we need to get that going, because their new program, the old program, no longer is
You
going to be
should call
supported.
him. You should email them.
Yeah, I just kind of try to keep that
We
moving.
talked about
Yeah.
it the day of the
And we talked about
IT.
cross-training people. You know, why would we just send one person if we're gonna spend this money? Let's train a couple of different people. The other thing, since I know we're short on time,
We're fine.
is we have this chart of accounts. And I'll just pass this around because I found this part very interesting and we'll talk about that another time. But when we're talking about budgets, so here's their kind of where they're at. And their tax asking this year was 597,397. They're gonna be giving us back 268,259 is kind of the budget that they gave us. So what I've learned in the last month is that once we approve those budgets, if they wanted to hire 10 people because they have $300,000 extra, they can. There's nothing that can stop you from, you know, I
They'd
did
have
call,
to go to the vote of the public health board.
they would, but they,
Okay.
from past history,
You're not gonna guess.
well, not anymore, but there was a time where however it was presented would be, because that's the way we've always done it, if that's what you need, and, I just think that this is one of those budgets that we're gonna have to get a hold of early on, because I just think that we leave ourselves very exposed having that large of a budget. And at the end of the year, we really didn't need it, it's just in case we needed it. I feel there's a better way to kind of drill into this and figure out exactly how we can not have that money out there every year.
What is that better way?
I don't think I have the exact answer. I'd be telling you that right now. I think that that's why we need to start working on it. I think I need to work with Kim to figure out how this got to be like this. And I'll pass that around. I couldn't find any little things that could make them. We also had a motion to agree that our generator is gonna be natural gas. So we kind of worked on that. I went and talked to Jacob yesterday and told him that we've decided that we're gonna do natural gas, so stop, you know, making that too difficult. I say it like that, but not make it too difficult. Natural gas is right there. If we have that big case where, you know, everything explodes, we need to go home, you know, if our natural gas pipes have exploded. And so, and I also told him that we just need a generator that will
Don't
keep.
alley there, it's on fire. If it's on fire, everybody get out and don't tell everybody to report to the public health.
Yeah.
That's not a rally point.
Well, and I also pointed out that we have these big generators now at City Hall, at the fire department, at the courthouse, at the jail, all within 2 blocks.
Right.
And in the hospital also, you know, if our little generator doesn't take care of it, we can take that vaccine out. We can run an extension cord over to Jake's room. So kind of decided to go with just
Well,
a,
that was always kind of my question all along.
Or you could
Are
pack
we
it up.
needing this generator more for those vaccines that we're already keeping cold in the fire station? Or are we needing it more for Jake's system?
little of both, that's the way I understand it.
I get that, but I feel like it's maybe leaned a little towards Jake's
Nobody's there
system.
working.
Yes,
I can
and
watch
that-
those ads.
yes. So I also yesterday,
Yeah, that
before I went-
75 or 50 KW generator that they
this
were,
is what is
they were
kind of.
proposing
So
was
we-
to keep the lights, air conditioner and, you know, everything just, you know, we don't wanna know, we don't even wanna notice if we're.
Unfortunately, I printed it when the.
We don't have electricity.
Right.
That's just kind of, that'd be about $2,000.
And
And we have to get it hooked up. It's got the switch on it.
7.7 KW.
Is that big enough? Do you think in your opinion?
7.5 KW. I'm not an expert, but it should run a refrigerator just
My
fine.
husband thinks it is. He's not an expert either, but he thinks he is, so it's good enough for me, I guess.
I still think that, God, that, we put a 75 KW on our fire station. Could run for half the town, but
Right.
we bought it used.
Oh,
We gave, what, 15,000 for it.
wow.
And it was like, it had like
That's
150 hours on it. Yeah,
The thing is, a generator probably spends more time doing its monthly tests.
That's all I
than it
do.
does running.
Absolutely.
Well, that'll fit in that little area, you know, right on the side there.
I think what is happening is what we meant to happen. Here is your amount of funds you're getting.
Yep.
Live with it.
yep, and that's good. That's what we set up to do.
Yep,
so
and,
get it
you
done.
know, that's kind
That
of
runs
why,
out.
there's been a lot of changes. We're moving along.
Next
I think if we
budget.
get these things on the outside done, so we can actually see some things happening.
Once we get the doors in, I actually took the guys that are, fitting on the doors inside to kind of show them where that wall for that bathroom's gonna be, so we don't really need that window there anymore. And so they're just gonna make kind of a window about, yay high up above, rather than a whole long window. Then we can start getting that bathroom, framed in. Gonna just take that, where you walk in, there's one door, we're gonna take all that out, because the beam up there, it was just a, we don't need it. Jim also now is staying in the room he's in. The water line above it is going to be rerouted to come down the middle of the hallway. Fraser's have already kind of looked at that. I talked to Jerry Bryant, to see if he would come look at the electrical, to see why this is such a monster that we just can't move forward because of some electrical issue. I'm gonna take Jake with me when Jerry Bryant comes, just to kind of see what's the holdup. When we get the outside done, I'm actually going to do the RFPs for the inside while they're working on it, so we can get that time frame of the bids done, get the flooring. I've got,
You're talking the bottom.
the bottom, the basement. The upstairs, nothing's happening
Why are they
upstairs.
not moving in?
We gotta paint it inside. And
But
so-
you got that
But that's
gal
been
lined
approved.
up.
Well, that's only the outside. That 10,000 is only the outside.
Okay, my suggestion is, how close are they got the 150,000 spent?
Right now, we're at, 37.
Spent 37,000?
Yep,
That's 60.
10,440 plus 27,398.
I would,
But your generator's gonna be,
didn't he?
45?
No, that's how much
Whether-
Jake got. The generator's gonna be 2,000.
Why is it working in there?
And then it's gonna cost, that was the original when I was talking.
and what size is
Get 'em
that?
moving
That's
in
at
there.
7.5?
Do you think that's, Jerry thought that should be big enough because it worked.
Jim Powers painted the
They
building.
just don't have
while they
IT
were
stuff
in.
yet. They
And
don't have their,
they can do that. We have agreed that we will paint those walls because there's marks and whatnot on the inside. I guess we could go back to the board and see if we still really agree to do that. I just want to get the outside done before it got cold. That's why I focused on the outside. Now we can start getting bids on the inside immediately also. Just keep it moving, but I kind of had to, I just
Will
didn't.
that keep emergency lights on in there then?
Maybe just a few.
But if you won't need a lot,
a
just
few, yeah,
emergency
yeah,
lights,
Yeah,
basically to get to the
right.
freezers and refrigerator
It's
system.
not gonna light up like.
So
a
them
Christmas
emergency
tree.
lights, and it can just be a single emergency
Yeah.
light like you got for a fire,
Yeah, well,
and
price on it.
and that's just an
2,000.
example of one. That's
Four
not the one
payments at
necessarily we're
We
ordering.
were talking about having to have $100,000,
150.
150.
That's what.
Now, that would have been a huge, that was a 95.
But it's just like,
Well-
here's your money, get going.
That's kind of
Come
right.
back.
Godspeed.
I just wanna make sure that we got enough to cover that. I mean, I don't know do we have to have anything in there that keeps electricity to Jake's cell?
Yes, that's supposed to do that, but all he has to do is maintain a temperature until things come back on. And if we're in this catastrophe, what are we gonna do out at the towers? What kind of generators do you have
Well,
out
they
there?
got, you
They got generators.
But how big are they?
Big enough to run both, they're like.
they're bigger than this.
They're bigger than that? You think it needs to be bigger?
I don't know what the heck number it is. They're good
They're
size.
big generators.
And that's how.
I'm gonna tell you they're 20.
Directly.
I would guess they're 20.
Natural gas, as long as the natural gas.
Cause it'll run them big units, the big air conditioner units. I'm gonna guess 20, but that's a guess.
And how much were they?
And that's what I'm thinking. That's why it's in my head.
Either way, we get down to, here's the dollar amount.
Right.
Right.
They're curbing what they have to make it work.
Perfect.
I just think that that's the only thing that I'm worried about is.
Not big enough? And
No, I
not-
don't know. I mean, that's what you need to have. You need to know what Jake's draw would be.
Quit asking them questions. Big enough. They don't have a freaking.
Okay, IT people, find that out for me. You guys find that out for me.
70.
IT.
Something like that.
Why
I mean, I don't,
So special.
I mean, you're keeping it, you're doing exactly what, you're doing a great job.
Well, I'm
You're
trying.
doing exactly what we
It's not my wheelhouse.
were
for the
counting on
record.
you to do over there.
For the record, it's not my wheelhouse.
Well, you're doing good. Jerry's advising you well.
Well, he's, I'm getting some help from some friends, I'm not gonna lie. The other thing that we talked about then was the policy of having taken those 3 hours out of the vacation. And the, board unanimously said if it's not in the policy, we should probably talk to the board before we go outside of policy.
next, meeting, we're going to actually firm that up a little bit to say that in our policy manual that, it's not up to a department head to go out of policy. Policy is there, and if it's not in the policy manual, we don't assume that we can do, you know, whatever. Kind of, it's a tough one, I guess, but, you know, to change, and then we talked about just having PTO time also, because that's kind of what the hospital does, and the department head had, you know, said, well, it's their time, it's their vacation, it's their sick time. And I had to disagree with that because we have it in pockets. We're not big PTO, so your vacation was your vacation, your sick is your sick, and you can't mix that up. It's gonna be a nightmare. So the board all agreed that we need to, if there's anything needs to change the policy, we'll change it, but we can't go outside of policy if it's in the
So it'll
policy.
stay the same.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're gonna firm it up a little bit in our policy manual next month, because,
Good.
it's tough, you
Good.
know. And I think that one of the things that we need to really get our hands around is, you know, elected officials, we know that they have all power, and the only thing that can change that is an election. But department heads are not elected officials, and they are there to, facilitate policy
That's their board.
when the board is not
Right.
present. So, you
But
know,
we still need buy-in of those elected officials in order to run HR, make payroll. You know what I mean?
To do the handbook.
do the-
Buy-in of the handbook.
Of the handbook policies.
well,
You stop them if they don't want it.
that's,
Election.
Then do your own damn payroll.
Well, maybe that's what it has come to then.
Well, that's the
And
thing.
that,
is-
then the county opens themselves up to liabilities, because if those taxes aren't filed properly, if all that stuff, there's tons of stuff. Amy has a handful of different guidelines and laws that she has to abide by
Mhm.
in administering
And
the
every department
counties.
has to.
Well,
because she-
Amy ultimately does, because she's the one that
Does-
files it on behalf of the county.
That's my point.
And
So
even
that-
landfill and the assessor's office, she files
And
all
public
of
health.
them.
and public.
Well, they're
health.
part of the county.
Right, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what
But if she has to, I don't know why that doesn't retrograde, I mean, from
It
HR.
does, otherwise it's a liability to the
I
county.
think that's why we're having the conversation, because for the first time in however many years we've had that policy, it's kind of getting out there that, well, that's just a guideline to look at, you don't really have to obey it. I talked to a supervisor from Johnson County, and they use it as the Bible, that is the law of the land, that's the rule, and there's no
Sorry.
working outside of that, you know, and if it's not in the policy manual, it doesn't mean you can just invent something.
Right.
You have, and you can't pick and choose what parts of the policy you want to, obey. And
Have
so,
all of our elected officials signed off on the policy handbook?
They signed off just like all our other employees, I believe. We can double check on that, but according to Jack, after the fact, there was something special we were supposed to have elected officials sign, or there's
After
something
the
they
fact.
can find or sign. And it's like, well, why did we not know that when we were
Can't
putting
we,
together our policy handbook?
can't we pull them together after, because we're gonna redo it, and maybe we do it even on the one we presently got. We bring everybody in, but I mean, for sure when we rewrite, which we know we're gonna do that
Right,
pretty soon. I think we have basically a meeting of all the elected officials,
and department heads, I guess.
yeah, bring them all
well, and the
together.
department heads. But I was trying to think, even the representative, of course, we're the representative of the conference board. I guess we'd have everybody there if we got all the elected officials. And that would have to be signed off. And basically, you could put your input in on something that's important to your department. But, all in all, it's gotta be agreed upon, and
Right.
it need, to protect the county's from liability. We actually, it's mandatory that every county elected official have buy-in on this.
That's-
Yeah.
Or they be personally subjected to any fines, anything that happens. Our insurance shouldn't even have to cover their mistake if they're trying to go out rogue. Am I crazy saying
I agree
that?
with you, Todd.
We
I agree.
might agree, but everybody needs to realize that it's not just a guideline to pick and choose what
That's
you
my
want
point.
to, you know,
Yeah.
we really have to make sure, because I feel, you know, when, the department head called Jack, he said, oh yeah, as a department head, you can do whatever you kind of want to. although he did say that the board, when you, even when the department head, that you could run it by the board to make sure. But that was, I feel like that's bad information for our HR person to give the impression. It should have been a no, if it's not in the policy, I know you can't do it. That's the way
I
that
mean,
should have
if
been.
there's things that our HR department has to file with the state of Iowa, that everything is legitimate, and the information that she's getting is not, she has a hard time finding out if that's accurate information from what's being submitted,
Right.
then by all means, we have to have a process in place that everybody has to follow.
Right.
And upon being elected or upon being appointed or whatever
Yep, yep.
to become a department head, you should have to sign your name saying, I will abide by the rules in this handbook, kind of like when you get hired.
Absolutely.
And you sign, and if you don't wanna, if you
You're
don't
taking
sign,
your-
then I agree with Ty, then you're on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, at the bank, if they had an update, we'd all get together and they'd go over what the update to the policy, you have to sign that, and turn it back in and put it in your hand, that
Right,
you realize that that
exactly.
had changed, and it's not well, I didn't want to do that part of it. The bigger part to me is, once you go outside of that policy, one time, you've set that precedence, and now you
Makes
set
all
yourself
other
up.
parts of that policy null and void.
Correct. And now you've set yourself up for a future lawsuit because somebody else wants to do it.
Yeah.
And you say, no, you can't. And they say, well, you let so-and-so do it.
Yeah.
And now they can sue us easily, more easily, because we're now picking and choosing who we let to have the special favors and who doesn't get the special favor. And I would be harder to defend why you went outside of policy than why you stayed in policy. And so I
Right.
think that we need to really make sure people understand that that policy is not something you can pick and choose and, I don't want to do this one, but I'm gonna do this one. And the vacation time is not their time to decide how they want to take it. It's your vacation, you're sick, your family leave, and when you say you're on vacation, you're on vacation and you don't just to come back and
Or
take
we
that.
just
Cause you have to
Take all
get
them
department head
fancy
approval.
words away and put PTO.
Yes,
There you
you're
go.
exactly right.
One
You're
program.
exact, because that's the biggest challenge I think that
A lot
department
of
heads,
big
elected
companies
officials
went
have.
a
You've
lot.
got an employee that's taken the child to the
Cause then
doctor
there isn't no
You know,
silos of
and
time
they come
off.
back, well, what do you want to take?
Yeah,
They have
this
the
is what you
choice
get
to
for the
take
year.
One
out of
bank.
their comp,
Yeah.
out of their
like that,
vacation, out of
Oh, I
their
love
family
that.
time. And, it's just, why is there so many choices of, if you take your child to the doctor, where you want to take that out of? Comp, vacation, your family, there's some family time in there.
I think that's
Right,
something.
but
that
that's
really
part
needs
of your
to be
sick
addressed in the
time,
next
that's, you, out of
I
your
don't mind
sick
if you
time
just go
bank,
straight
you're
to it.
allowed 8
meeting.
days,
Smithfield did that.
It's
Actually,
8
that's
days
the owner.
of family sick time out of that bank of time. It's not an additional bank, it's within that, but yeah.
It's still
Alright.
a bank
Yeah.
that you have to make that decision, and the decision that you're making is based on what you're gonna get bought out of.
Right.
That's the other part that's so complicated, because now everybody's aware that this carries over and you can get paid out at
Right,
the end.
Still.
And see, those are the things that this board has to determine, is how we're gonna,
Those are the
how
things,
how that transition happens, when it exactly happens.
Right.
And then going forward, what, how much are you earning a month into
Right,
your
right,
PTO?
right. And I think, comp time, I think we also need to kind of make sure that all of our departments are figuring comp time exactly right. I think we need to decide when you have to buy that down, how much you carry forward. Because it looks to me like some people have 500 hours
We
of
have
comp time.
tried, we just didn't.
Yeah, we still have an employee with an excessive amount of comp time,
But,
and the department has been made aware
That's why I
of it,
think
and
that
doesn't do
PTO
anything
but
about
how do we justify that we're
Because the
making?
department had problem with it.
it. Right.
Secondary roads, when I
They
worked
manage
there,
it.
they manage it too.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the department head managing it.
Yep,
Right.
And his staff. But when you have an elected official that turns their nose up to it and says, my department, I handle how I want to. What traction do we have?
But how?
That's the sad part of it.
But if it's in our policy handbook that you as an elected official or as a department head or as you will obey the law of our land, how does one person get to not? And I think, and this all started over 3 hours, if you want to know the truth. But
Right.
if, once you start, that is gonna be a bookkeeping nightmare. decide, well, if you have a doctor's, and my best example is you go down to Florida, your husband gets sick and you spent time in the emergency room, you got a doctor's excuse. I want that whole week back because I was in the emergency with my husband. I was in Florida. Sorry, I kind of got my
Thanks
vacation
when you were
back.
there with.
Huh?
We thank when you were there with.
Yeah.
Right.
You could have went on your vacation and left them there. That's up to you. Don't-
Well, now that's gonna be up to the department head to tell me I should have came back home and left him there. Just, just trying to think of those scenarios that,
You know,
I like to move to just PTO.
ATO sound like
Let's
I
get-
think we should
let's get
research
it on the
that.
agenda and, let's make it happen because it's gonna be so much easier for everybody.
Right?
Eliminate mistakes, I mean, we've talked about this before in a recent incident. Mistakes will happen,
Absolutely.
and I don't, people aren't always nefarious, I mean,
Right.
most of the time it's a mistake.
Right.
So if we
Honest.
have ways to go back to correct mistakes, great. But I mean, if you simplify things and clean things up, we know how to do that. I mean, we're talking about a prime example right here. That starts to eliminate the ability for a mistake.
Right.
And her office is actually designed to stop mistakes or be the final check in preventing them. How's that?
But how do we expect her office to have a different rule for every department that sends
No,
some
you can't.
paperwork in?
You can't.
You can.
You
That's
can't.
why we have the handbook we have, because it's come so far
And
in bringing it all together so it's unified.
I think if you bring this to any taxpayer in Crawford County and we brought it to them and told them exactly how this is, not one of them would argue it.
And I will
Right.
tell you that employees, there's gonna be people very upset, because I remember when we went to PTO 30 years ago,
We know they're
right?
not losing anything.
You didn't, and you find out that it's so great, because you don't have to say, well, my child is, you don't really even have to say, my child is sick. I'm sick, my husband's sick,
need
I
to
just
take
need a day off.
PTO.
You got this bank, and you
Use it for
don't
whatever
have to.
purpose you
Yeah,
so
that's
wish.
right, you
Or
don't have
something.
to,
It's your
Yeah.
personal
It's
time
empty.
off.
Right.
It's empty, too bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
Use
Yeah.
it accordingly.
yeah.
Use it
It-
wisely.
Yeah.
We had
There
a
you
gal
go.
that
Use
she
it
got a
wisely.
day and she took a day off, the day she got a day, she's gonna take the next day off. And it's like, oh boy, you're gonna be sorry, but who can tell an 18-year-old how to run their
Yeah,
lives,
they're never gonna get sick.
So,
Yeah.
They're indestructible. I
Exactly.
think I'm still 18.
But I
The
just
life's
think
taught
that
me
it's
different.
time, because we see it going a little bit more, we have one instance here, and then we got another one over here. And I guarantee you that that's gonna become, common practice, that if you happen to get and so we're gonna have to have a doctor's note. They're so hard to get anymore. You got telehealth. I got on telehealth and they told me to take an aspirin. I need my hour back. You know what
Right.
well, you did it for somebody else.
Do you
Well,
remember? Oh, sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
just gonna say, and the benefit is, it's called paid time off. So
Yes.
there's additional time off you can take, but we just don't pay for
Yeah.
it. So if you're at your days
Right.
and you need to still take 2 days off, supervisor approval, you're granted it, but you're just not.
You're not
Yeah.
gonna
Just not
pay for
paying.
it.
Yeah, workload. Yep. And they talked about that too, where, they're having a hard time finding an RN in hospice, and, the one gal wanted 4 weeks off before she had went on vacation. Well, I said, well, she can have 4 weeks off, we just won't pay them, that we're not saying you can't, but there's just so many things. So I just think that we should really drill into how that PTO would look and how it would benefit all of our employees and,
Yeah.
stop having to have so many banks. And I think we also need to firm up our comp time, how we figure it, because I think every department figures it a little bit differently.
Well,
Because
the timesheets that Amy gets
it doesn't get all the time sheets.
fixes. She talks to the department head, explains what happened or didn't happen. And sometimes it's to the benefit of the employee and sometimes it's not.
Well, if we say
It's a
you have
mixed
to work
bag,
40
so.
hours and you've only worked 37 and a half and you get comp time, we got a problem.
Right,
We got a problem. And
right.
I kind of, looked at this little department here and, trying to figure out how we get so far away, from what it's really supposed to be. So I think it's time we just drill in.
When we were in 1982, they already had this rule. You get 60 days off in the federal government. You 60 days of vacation, and after that, you start losing. I think we gotta make sure that we have something in there like that. That this building up these blocks everywhere. And then you're
Oh, yeah.
paying out.
Yeah.
$18,000 at the end of it.
It's not meant, and that's
Right.
part of.
That there really frustrates me because that's an
Nailed it.
unseen
Not meant to
budget
be.
demand.
Right.
I sure want to be fair to everybody, but I think that we also got to be fair to everybody that don't work in this building but pays the check.
Right.
That's
Right.
exactly.
Writes the
Exactly.
check, I should
Because we
say.
try to tell them.
So we've worked through some of these issues on my time on the board. We've downsized a couple lanes, but we've always treated the employee with as much respect as we could.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Some are still sour about it to this day. If you see them in the post office, won't talk to you, but you're never gonna please everybody.
Well, you gotta
But
try to
for
do
the
what's right.
Majority of the people,
Right.
we've always tried to treat
We
everybody.
always err on the side of the employee.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
I do too. So those are just some things that, it was a long meeting. We went way over our time. We did not have lunch.
Too bad.
I told you we wouldn't get out here at 10, didn't
All
I?
right. That's all right. But that's kind of, I thought it was good news. We finally are moving forward. You're gonna see something moving
I
over.
know,
there.
thank you for that.
And
Good
we're
job
gonna-
over there, appreciate that.
But we're gonna move on to the inside. And so I think that the discussion needs to be, do we really need to paint every office? But they've got like those holes in the walls and
Gotta need plaster.
So the paint bid, just so I clarify, was just for the
just for the
outside?
outside. Every painted surface right now will be repainted and the windows will be, they're gonna go in and kind of,
Some of them are stained
That's
inside
good.
too, aren't they?
well, the inside, we're not gonna paint
I
any of the
mean, are we gonna
windows
do
or
anything to that? Where
Not-
it looked
not
like it
in-
was getting a little bit weathered,
on the outside we are.
but on the
Yes.
inside, no?
I don't think so. I have not gone through with
Okay.
it, but
Just ask.
I just feel because of weather, I'm imperative to get this all
Get
done
that done on the outside right away.
Right away.
Before winter.
right away.
I agree.
And
Good
then the
idea.
doors and windows, we're leaving that bid open, but I'll call Frazier's and let them know
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
And
they'll be,
There you
they'll be glad,
Yeah.
cause maybe they already have the
Yeah,
info.
because I love two bids whenever I can get them.
Yeah,
And
for
the
sure.
fact that our concrete came in 3,000 less than the estimate of what it was gonna be was a good day too. So,
That's sweet.
so that's that.
Okay,
So,
thanks,
we're moving on.
Gene.
You're welcome.
If anybody have anything else to be brought before the
We
board?
need to talk about our self-insurance fund a little bit, huh?
Yeah. So
Drop in.
Ty and I started talking this morning about it, cause I had sent an email. No, I didn't. What did I send?
You said something, but it made me think about this, so that's why I
Yeah.
came to talk to you. this morning.
Anyway, I had gotten an email from Isaac. They have that pool, their insurance pool, and they offer insurance. And I don't know if it's a discussion you wanna start having with the way our self-insurance pool seems to be heading. I mean, we're far away from catastrophe, but
We're heading down.
we don't wanna get
We're
there.
going
We
the
don't
wrong
wanna get to
direction.
300,000 like
Exactly.
we
What does
did.
ISAC offer or have
Health insurance,
available?
dental insurance, they offer everything.
Our stop loss still is at the 40,000 or 45.
45, isn't it?
Is it 45? I can't remember.
I'm just
I
throwing.
was thinking it was.
We changed it.
Did you go to 45?
Thought we went to 45 on that
You
last.
might have.
time
I
we
don't
did it.
remember, to be
We did
honest.
change it.
Oh,
I'll have to look at
Yeah,
it.
we went up to 45.
Lower premiums.
I mean,
And then, and we've been
it's
going
been really
down
good for us. I
subsequently.
just don't kind of grasp why it's dwindling the way it is,
Planes.
Fine.
right, but is it due to the claims inflated with inflation?
I would say that was probably a
It's
large,
probably
Yeah.
a bigger portion of it. It's not that we're necessarily having more claims, it's just that they cost us a lot.
Right. I mean, and we have a lot hitting stop loss,
emergency rooms and
So,
which, so that our premium to stop loss, that changes that.
so I know we always err on the side of our employee, but at some point in time,
Right.
through negotiations or whatever, we're gonna have to get them inflated.
yeah,
Pay them as well.
that's why I
We don't
think
have
if
a
we,
contract that requires insurance. I think we need to talk about that too. Cause, they're decertified. Sheriff's Union
They
was
certified.
decertified. It was in your packet a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Okay, all right.
They're decertified, so we need to find out for sure if that means effective immediately. And what part of that contract are you keeping? And they do not pay as much as the rest of the employees for insurance. that group. Not that they're a huge group. I mean, they're
Right.
not gonna make us, they're not gonna change this.
8 or 9 people or whatever. I mean, well, I
Whatever it
guess
is.
there's all the jailers.
There's some of the, there's like 3 full-time jailers and then what, 6 or 7 deputies.
Susie's not under
It'll
that.
get cause some
No,
stress.
She's a staff.
I think our employees compared to anybody else still get a pretty good
pretty good.
smoking deal, I think. on
Yeah,
the
there's some
federal
counties that their employees don't pay anything for insurance yet, but, which is amazing.
Amazing.
That spreadsheet's on the
Right.
ISAC website. If you go into that salary spreadsheet, you can pull up just
Try to go
insurance.
back to what their actual wages are then. They might not be as
Maybe.
high either.
Yeah, I
But
don't know.
sometimes the demographics and the tax base of said counties can determine how much money you're getting in, because I mean, there's counties that aren't even dipping into their general
They aren't even using supplemental.
supplemental or rural supplemental.
Yeah.
And they're not even dipping into that.
And they got plenty.
Their American tax base is so high
Yeah.
that they don't need to.
We don't have that luxury.
We don't have that luxury in Crawford County, because that's why it pisses me off with the state still.
Exactly.
Right.
For a
And one
preacher
thing we
to
do
choir,
need
but
in this,
know.
I like to vent
Yeah.
myself
But
too.
at some point in time, even, I mean, that's a hell of an insurance plan for
right,
$200 or $250 a
I
month.
went watching his mom.
Well, you think about what people that are paying that don't have a plan like that.
right.
You're
Yeah, we have.
you're
good
getting up to
insurance.
thousands
We really do.
pretty quick.
It's not the best. There's better.
It's good.
That's good.
Wonder how many though. I don't think you can track that.
Right,
I think we're giving the best we can for what we get.
Or that's one way, or you gotta look at raising deductibles
right.
to help.
Which we did
offset this. We
A
did.
number
some.
of years ago, we raised deductibles.
Yep.
None of those are popular.
And then you hear,
Neither
you
none
raised
of
the
them are
deductible,
popular.
You know, But
offset my pay increase, so I really didn't get an increase at all is what we hear.
what you know, what we did this year, I thought was a good
It costs us
idea, because
more.
what we use the most, other than, hospitalization and even doctor visits, is medications.
Right.
And we went out of our way to try to
We
find
did
better,
make
better
some
way to do
changes.
that.
That'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
I think that was all good.
Yeah.
We have no control over any of that.
So you didn't list like,
What?
last year, but I mean, when we see a drop in 1 month of 80 grand, is that historical? Is that kind of what we're
I'll get you, I'll get you that
Along the
last
history.
year's, the full years, so you can see how it moved around.
I'm
It'd
just.
be nice to have pie charts and bar graphs.
I agree.
Has it been 3 years ago?
I
3 years
remember
ago, we were
they
sitting
were
on
looking at
almost
public
$2 million.
We need to get Terry a better computer.
We had 2 million about 3 years ago?
What else we did it?
How
So we all get these packets.
many years ago did
This
we
is what the packet was.
stop
Time.
were you on yet? When we were sitting at a $2 million deal and we,
Email to
got-
it.
That was the year before me, because I remember sitting on that side of Bannister and you guys talking about it.
okay,
And maybe it was in 18,
so at one time, yeah, so in a matter
I
of
remember.
4 years, roughly, it's dwindled, but it seems to be dwindling faster. Cause we got down to like 1.5 and it hovered there for quite a while. We thought we had it dialed in perfect.
Yeah, that was why.
That were kind of our goal, was always to have $1.5 million and
We went through this line by line.
but I think our inflationary costs are starting to kind of
I hate.
take us.
Just
I think you're right.
read it.
I think inflation's probably been our biggest culprit, which is in everything in business and government. Inflation's been kicking the whole
As a
country.
county as a whole, I think we're a fairly young group, which younger people don't have as many claims unless they're cranking out babies. So I don't think it's our employee base that's really the drive on it more than something that the inflation is kicking us in that. In my opinion.
I think inflation is probably our biggest driver. I agree with you. I mean, it isn't everything. I mean, they say that inflation's going down, but I don't know where they're getting their statistics.
It's not.
Everything I'm buying costs more this week than it did a month ago.
Problem is, I don't see where if medication has gone up, it's not gonna go back down. It's gonna stay there.
Hell no.
And doctors' wages aren't gonna go back down. Everything's gonna have to,
Gravity never seems to affect that stuff.
yeah, something. And
Well, do we have anything
So
else?
ISAC offers, look,
Insurance.
I guess.
I don't know if you wanna listen,
I don't think it hurt us to listen.
Have him come
I
and
mean, always check for a better
what he
deal.
has to say.
yep, I'd love
we
to
need
hear.
to, this is concerning. It's not hit alarm level yet. I don't want to hit that.
But I think we're gonna be negligent to not take a look.
Be able to survive another month.
Let's look at it.
Take a peek. If you wanna, if you could schedule something for us, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
I'll see when he can be on the
Or like
agenda.
end of October or something.
Yeah, and we gotta, I mean, this is all part of our future, our budgets going forward. I think we gotta develop a habit of working earlier in the season to start working on, kind of wait until January and then everything all at once gets a little bit overwhelming. So I think we probably missed things that we should.
Just got a text back from Rick Hunsack here about the line the vehicles together. He said counties have not pulled together and used Region 12. There's no advantage as would not all be able to order off state bid. If they can't order state bid, we can.
Oh, they can't.
Oh, okay.
Aha.
He said Gene Miners thinks there is a group in the state which already does this.
Oh,
Group of
Counties.
counties?
It seemed like we did our 4-county thing. Maybe if we go to, I mean, they're always looking for ways to save money. Maybe we actually pull Ida into it, make a 5-county, and all of us small counties.
I want to be on devil.
I'm just saying, you know,
No,
maybe,
you're not wrong.
I'm just saying, if we had a little group like that, I mean, even if it's just our 4 counties, I mean, it's still probably gonna give us more buy-in. Something to think about.
Roughly at 1,700 a month per employee here. For insurance. Employee pays 200 and the county pays 1,500. Would that be a fair?
We pay a little more than 200, our employees do,
Okay.
yeah, pretty close to that, I think.
If it's inflation, you know, what both of us would have to kick up. I would. think
Right,
it'd
we
be
just
fair,
did.
you know,
I mean, you just raised
If
it.
it's a raise of a 10%, we both pay 10% more.
Yeah, maybe just,
I don't know how
for
that.
math, that's just for math purposes.
Mhm.
It's not a cheap plan. We go with a cheaper plan and keep it the same. Make it for everybody. Somehow somebody's gonna be mad.
Absolutely. There's no way to,
Well, I mean, if insurance was easy, we wouldn't be having this
It
discussion.
was supposed to be easy.
Well,
used to be easy.
Ha, ha, ha.
I
Back in
know, I,
10 or whatever, it was supposed to be easy.
pre 08.
Keep your plan, keep your doctor. That's what I remember.
Yeah. You know,
Pay
I
less,
was kind of going,
and pay less, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we start bashing Mr. Obama, let's, is there anything else for insurance? We're gonna set up a meeting, I mean, maybe shop
Yeah,
around,
I
I
think
did look, that's an
It's our
80
responsibility
kW
to do
generator they had on it, not a 7.5.
up to 80.
80 kW to power a 2-family household with a heated pool.
Yeah.
That's what it said on my.
an 80.
And that's what you have out at your towers?
I think they're 35s.
Okay.
I think
30s or 35s.
that could be right. I mean, cause their site, they're more than they need,
Okay.
but that's what they carry. They order them in bulk, so they get them at a price,
That's if they have to run both, for some reason, both heaters or both AC units.
both AC units, yeah.
We're on a budget, so we're just gonna,
I like what Dave
No.
said, gave him 150,000.
I think if you just get them essential things powered, I think you're gonna be fine.
and it all can be temporary, because if it turns out to be the big.
It's not a hospital.
No, it's not.
They're not gonna have to work in the building
They
that day.
You don't.
So I mean, but we gotta protect,
Power everything.
and what we do have to protect, we gotta protect water lines, we gotta protect,
Yep.
you know, I mean, cause winter
Yep.
times when we're most susceptible to power outage. All right.
All right.
Okay, anything further to be brought before the board? If not, I'm gonna ask for citizens' input. Is there anybody out in Zoom land? Because you're the only one here today. Patty, do you have anything? I think she bails on us. What do you think? Okay.
I'm gonna adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Dozark, second by Ms. Hayden. Time is, oh, she's already got the time wrote down. Look at her.
All right.
Oh,
It's,
Not bad.
all right. All in favor, state so by saying aye.
Bye.
Opposed, no. Chair votes aye. Have a great day.